Welcome to this mission where we're going to be focusing on recover the relics.
Yes.
Have I got that right?
You have, yes. Recover the relics, the first mission from the Nachmund Grand Tournament mission pack.
Absolutely. Now what we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to cover some of our tips for deployment. We're also going to be looking at then some of the mission considerations that you need to be aware of, and then maybe some use or units that you might want to actually implement into your army list considering this mission, and then just some other aspects that you're going to need to know right the way from deployment to generating that game plan that we've already alluded to in other lessons, like your kill zone, your non-negotiables. We can be covering all of that. So Michael, talk us through the basics of this mission.
Okay, well, if we switch to the top down, we can see we have 6 objective markers. Okay, this mission you'll get 4 points at the end of your command phase for holding 1, another 4 points for holding 2 objectives, and then an additional 4 points for holding more than your opponent.
Yep.
To a maximum of 45 over the course of the game.
Yep.
And then further to that, we have the mission primary objective, which is a point for every unit you kill, up to 3 per battle round.
Okay, so basically kill a unit, get a point. Up to 3. Now there's a few other considerations that we need to think about in terms of, obviously we have deployed our armies, so if we go back to that top-down view, then what we can show you is actually where these 6 lie.
Yes.
Now, the thing is here, a couple of considerations that you need to know is that the objectives are 8 inches away from the center of the table.
Yes.
And the middle of the objective to the outside of the objective area that you can actually cover is over 4 inches away.
Yeah.
And because your deployment zone is 18 inches, there is no possibility that you can actually start a model on an objective.
Yeah.
And why is that important for this mission?
So the mission quirk is that you only get your battle-forged command point at the start of your command phase, and that's also important, the start of your command phase, if you hold an objective that is in no man's land.
So basically, any of these 4, so 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, so if you hold any of those in your command phase, you're going to get 1 command point.
Yeah.
What if I hold 2?
There's no extra bonus for holding 2.
Okay.
You just need to make sure you hold at least 1 for that command point.
Okay, cool. So just to cover the basics, 6 objectives, 4 in no man's land, 1 in each deployment zone.
Yes.
You cannot hold any of the ones in no man's land from deployment alone.
Yeah.
So what have you factored into your army that's going to help you in this mission specifically in terms of some of the unit choices that you've gone for?
So I've gone for a couple of ways to make sure that I can start my command phase on one of these objectives.
Okay.
So I've got here a unit of Kroot.
Yep.
And these guys get a pre-game move.
Okay.
So after we've rolled off the first turn, I could then move these guys, their movement.
Yep. So assuming you're going first.
Assuming I'm going first,
Yep.
I'd probably do this to make sure I get my command point.
Okay, nice. And what would you do if you were going second?
If I was going second, I would probably move them. And you can see with the terrain here, guys, the objective is just under this building.
Yeah.
So we'd probably scout move just over here. And that's what we might call a move, a pre-game move, guys, is a scout move. And we just go in there. We'll hold the objective out of sight.
Because there's a small piece of the area there, which is you can actually hold from behind that. And obviously all of these buildings here are actually completely blocked off.
Yeah.
Now they are obscuring as well. So just to quickly go over that. So you've got all the terrain which is obscuring, all the ruins. We're counting these as obscuring as well. And obviously this is quite high anyway. So that's just a natural line of sight blocker. And then we've got a couple of dense terrain areas as well. So that's going to be giving this -1 to hit through that. And then we've got a little bit of...
a crater.
A crater.
Crater, yeah, difficult terrain.
Yeah, give a little bit of light cover.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Okay, so I really like that. So when you're deploying this unit then, you want to make sure, so in your rules you need to check, is it a normal move or is it a move as if it was your movement phase? Because what you need to then look at is making sure that your back model is basically inside its move, so you can put your back model to there.
Yes.
Otherwise, if they're out too wide, then they're still going to be out in the open if you go second. So you just want to make sure that you do have that movement to go across.
And do check the wording, guys, because it's either normal move. Sometimes it's just they make a 6-inch move.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's they can move up to 9. So it does vary between special abilities, so do check them.
I would just assume for safety that it's your regular movement value. If you go with that, you know, it's going to be fairly, you know, in a good place. And what other units have you got in your army to help you get this as well?
So we've got the Tau here, and we've got a unit of stealth suits. And these guys can set up 9 inches away from your opponent's deployment zone. And we would probably call this forward deploying or infiltrating, which means they could actually start the game on one of these objectives in no man's land.
Yeah, like it. I mean, that's exactly what I've got in my army here. I've got a unit of eliminators, nice early pressure if I want, because they, again, have got that same rule where they can start 9 inches away from you. Now, I've also got in my army a redeploy.
Yes.
So if I was going first, great, I can keep them there and get my command point, or if I go second, I could redeploy them to that position underneath there and still achieve that same objective for me, okay? So that's another factor that I've got. So obviously they would be counting as if they were underneath there on that objective using that redeploy again. So we've shown off a few things there. We've got a pre-game move, we've got infiltrating units and redeploying elements. The only stipulation, sometimes if the wording says redeploy as if it was the mission parameters, I'd actually have to redeploy in my deployment zone. But it does mean I can get them out of dodge. So it will depend on the type of ruling that you have. If it says redeploy based on the unit's deployment, and that might be different. So it's just a couple of clarifications there you might need to know. So what other things have you considered when you've deployed your army then for this mission?
So we've looked at where the obscuring is for this particular mission, and I need to know where I can hold objectives. Okay, so one of the key things here is I've got this devilfish here just towing in on this objective. Okay. Because if we know some of the secondaries, some of them might require you to hold more objectives than me.
Like stranglehold.
Like stranglehold. And I can just make sure, just by being on that objective, that it's a bit harder for you to get stranglehold. Other than that, we've made use of the cover, and we've ensured that the units we have behind the cover have the movement value to move over it. So these hammerheads, for example, can either end on top or move just over it.
Because they've got the fly keyword.
Because they have the fly keyword, yes.
Yeah, and I've done exactly the same over here with my suppressors, and I'm going to make that really clear to you. I'm completely behind the obscuring, because if I touch it, all of a sudden now it starts to open that up through line of sight. So I'm completely behind there. And again, declaring your intent at the table is really, really important where you're doing that. And again, what I've done exactly the same here with my repulsors. Okay, kept them completely behind that obscuring. And again, I'm indicating that to you. I'm completely behind to get the benefits of that. Okay, cool. So another couple of things that I've got. I've got a tank here that can shoot indirectly. So for me, this is a fantastic bit of kit that I can literally put right under there into my first turn, and he can hold that objective for me whilst carrying on shooting indirectly. Brilliant. Another thing that I've got over here as well is I've got assuming I'm going first, we'll put them back over there. Got my unit here of intercessors, and they're just going to hold my non-negotiable. And I'm going to get as many as I can touching this cover, towing one model onto the objective because there is a slight firing lane there, and also staying as much as I can behind the obscuring. Then what I've also got is a character model that can also just touch onto that objective, and with another weapon that can shoot indirectly. So I'm this is my non-negotiable objective, whilst staying on this for as long as I possibly can. And then as I start to lose resources, let's say for whatever reason I lost that, and maybe even if I lost this unit over the course of the game, my unit of intercessors, because these are actually quite close, a unit of 5 using my coherency of 2 inches of 2 inches, I can actually now, let's say we're like in the real late game, I'm in turn 5, I just need to hold 2 objectives. This is where this unit can really come into play and actually hold those 2 objectives. So for me, my non-negotiable is going to be this one, but I can have a little bit of flex on this depending on some of the resources that I've got. So yeah, again, still keeping to that element of 3 characters, outer line of sight, objective secured. And then for me, this is going to be the one that I fortify my army on this objective here. So again, I've got the movement to move my tanks over, and then I'm getting the benefit of that -1 to hit, especially if they touch it, then they classify as being in the dense cover.
Yes.
So again, that's something I'm going to want to make sure I'm doing, is getting the -1 to hit on these vehicles.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to push onto this one, because I know you're going to be hidden behind here. I need to use my combat elements to go in, go through the wall, and clear that off.
Yes.
So that's going to be kind of my game plan, whilst keeping a nice kill zone on this objective here for me.
Yes.
And that's kind of my game plan. What about yourself? What have you gone for?
So we can see we have my anti-tank lined up here. These guys have the move to jump over and start shooting at things. So for me, my non-negotiable is going to be this back one here.
Yeah.
Because I can just tow it on. And of course, guys, if you are doing, as Steve said, we're going to tow on to this back objective, do declare that to your opponent and just say, look, you're going to have to be past this line to be able to shoot that unit.
Yeah.
Okay, because we don't want to get caught out by, you know, a couple of millimeters, and that can really leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
In the start of the game. We've also got our fortify will be this one here.
Yep.
So we can see we've got a big unit of crisis suits. We've got a devilfish with a unit of objective secured in it that can sit on there, and of course we have Commander Farsight with the crisis units that can sit on there. So we've got our character, our transport with a unit inside, and multiple units with different damage profiles. And then in terms of pushing you, we'd probably take this maybe as a kill zone.
Yes, because this is completely out in the open.
Completely in the open.
Yeah.
And then over here, there's the potential to get some of an angle on what's on here and maybe push onto it late game.
Yeah.
But obviously this is a very heavy shooting army.
Yeah.
So less combat threat.
Yeah, so you just need to actually expand your movement so you can get the firing lanes back into the building.
Yes.
Okay, I like it. So we're actually going for a very similar game plan. I'm going to go down one flank, you're going to go down kind of the other, as it were. And then there might be some elements that you need to switch using that mobility or whatever.
Yeah.
Anything else to mention on this mission that you think is important?
Yes, so with the forward deploying and the scout moves, it's really, really quite interesting if both armies have them.
Yeah.
So in this situation, you of course, you have your Phobos infiltrating units.
Yeah.
You might have the Lord of Deceit Warlord trait, which allows you to redeploy and still forward deploy with the redeployment.
Yeah.
I might have the Master of Callion trait for Tau, which would allow me to redeploy as well. So if I was going first, then I might try and set my units up the board, because I know they're safe.
Yeah.
And we've already discussed that. But during the roll off for defender, I might put my scouts, my stealth suits, 9 from your deployment zone.
Yes.
And prevent your infiltrating units from setting up there.
Yeah.
Yeah? So.
And that then means I have my next drop, which is really, really important.
Yes.
They have to set up here.
Exactly.
They have to set up there, because if I don't do that, then if you had another stealth suit unit, if I do not drop there now, if you put another unit exactly here, you completely block me from deploying forward whatsoever.
Yes.
I suppose the limitation of that is if we roll off and you go second, you've potentially given me 2 easy kills.
Yes.
And that's going to give me 2 nice points on the primary. So that might be a risk that you need to manage.
Yeah.
The other thing that you need to be aware of as well is sometimes with these infiltrating units, and this is a bit more of an advanced tactic, but we can cover it now, against a combat army, you can end up slingshotting your opponent off this unit. And what we'll do is, what I mean by that is if you've got a very slow army, let's say some aggressors, normally move 5, now I can move my 5 inches and now charge you, kill you, pile and then consolidate 3 inches. So actually all of a sudden my army's really got up the table. Or I might be really sneaky and kind of wrap you. So I hold you here where you can't fall back, you can't shoot me, because we're all in combat, and I'm forcing you to use things like desperate breakout or whatever. So you've really slingshotted my army up the table. But that is a really good strategy, and again one in which you need to consider those secondary points. So although we can talk about feeding units, so you might feed a unit out to get engaged in all fronts. You might feed a unit out to get you your retrieve Nachman data, as it were. I suppose that the negative side of that is that you might give up that kill secondary, right? That 1 point for that kill. Do we think that it's better to deny the point or still go for the secondary?
Well, I think that depends on how many points you deny and, of course, how many units you're sacrificing.
Yeah.
If, for example, we were in a situation where I put this devilfish here, okay, full of breaches, that's probably 2 kill points I'm giving you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I might cut you down to, say, just 2 objectives. You'll get your 8 points.
Yeah.
But then you kill these 2, and you're on 10 points, and that's only 2 less than if you got hold more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is totally unnecessary if you don't hold it at all.
Yeah.
Because you're just getting a net gain of 2 points.
Yes. Yeah. So if your unit that you're feeding into your opponent's jaws, as it were, is going to do an engage in all fronts, is going to get you a behind the enemy lines points, is going to score you that retrieve Nuckman data for 4. Yeah, you're giving away 2 or 1, but you're getting 4 back in return, or 3, and that's what you've got to constantly weigh up. So don't get too overwhelmed thinking, oh, I can't take engage because they'll get a kill. It's still worth it.
Yes.
So again, making sure that you're still scoring your secondary points is really, really important for this mission. Don't let that primary sort of sway you. But it's movements like that at the end of the game. Make sure every time you do feed a unit to be killed, or that could be killed, make sure it's well worth it.
Yeah, and also try to make sure that the unit that killed it is then now
exposed.
An option, exposed, so that you can kill it back to get that point back.
Yeah.
Don't give up your units for free.
So you're basically trading.
Yes.
You can have 2, I'm going to get 2 back.
Yes.
But my unit also did something else, which is that kind of utility and efficiency. Yeah. Okay, great. I think we've covered some really good stuff here. And again, please make a note of any sort of considerations that you need to make with your army list, or maybe go back to the army list stage and go, oh, is there any redeploy? Is there any infiltrating or pre-game moving in using those 3 rules in conjunction with one another, and have a think about some of the secondaries that you might pick on this objective as well. So anyway, we'll see you on the next mission.